Democratic House Whip Katherine Clark's our guest. Let's go on the record. A force in Congress during a chaotic session. Now with the 2024 election cycle in full swing, can anything get past the partisan divide? The whip is here. Let's get cracking.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
And welcome to OTR. I'm Ben Simoneau, along with News Center 5 anchor Maria Stefanos. Ed and Charmin are off on this Sunday morning. Thank you for being with us. And with us at the table is Massachusetts Congresswoman Katherine Clark, the Democratic House Whip. We thank you for being here this morning.
Good to be with you, Ben and Maria.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes. So let's get right to it. The presidents of Harvard, MIT, and Penn, they're under fire, as you know, after their testimony in front of a House committee last week where they would not answer directly if students calling for the genocide of Jewish people should be disciplined. So there's a formal House Education Committee investigation that's been launched. Let's listen, and then we'll react to an exchange between Harvard President Claudine Gay and GOP Representative Elise Stefanik. Let's listen.
Do you believe that type of hateful speech is contrary to Harvard's code of conduct, or is it allowed at Harvard?
It is at odds with the values of Harvard.
Can you
But
not
our
say here that it is
values
against the
also-
code of conduct at Harvard?
We embrace a commitment to free expression.
Does that speech not call for the genocide of Jews and the elimination of Israel?
When
You
that speech,
testify that you understand that is the definition of intifada.
we embrace a commitment to free expression.
And then, so that happened, and then this happened. A plane flying the banner, Harvard Hates Jews, flew over the campus last week. So Gay has since apologized in the aftermath of her testimony. Do you agree with Representative Stefanik that this should not be tolerated?
What we're seeing on college campuses is an alarming rise of anti-Semitism. None of us can tolerate calls for genocide of any group, be that Jewish students, any ethnic or racial group. So that is a point of moral clarity that everyone has to be able to agree on. And what we need to do is call out hate speech wherever we see it and make sure that every single student feels secure on their campus.
So should Claudine Gay lose her job as president of Harvard?
I was glad to see that President Gay clarified this exchange and again expressed her support for the security of Jewish students and other students. So I believe.
Was that too late? Was it too late?
You know, certainly what we saw from all the presidents was a lack of that kind of assurance that not only students need, but I hear from so many parents across campuses in my district in this country. This is a time where so many Jewish people are feeling isolated and terrified as we see this rise of anti-Semitism. So we all have a role to play, whether it's on campus or in our communities, in making sure that we are having an exchange of ideas around a very complex and horrendous crisis we're seeing in the Middle East, but that we can do it in a way that is not rising to the level of hate speech.
So a number of Democrats in Pennsylvania, the governor, Josh Shapiro, the two senators, John Fetterman, Bob Casey, they've said that these people in these positions need to speak with moral clarity. There has not been that response here in Massachusetts to the presidents of Harvard and MIT. You know, a Harvard law professor, Lawrence Tribe, posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, that he finds her testimony deeply troubling. So I'll ask you again, though, if you were on the board, would you say she needs to go?
You know, I'm not on the board. And what I can say is that we do have to speak with moral clarity. We do have to make sure that, yes, we want to encourage free speech and debate, but there are lines, and there are lines that we agree on, and genocide is one of those lines. And what we're seeing is an alarming and dangerous rise of anti-Semitism, of Islamophobia, and we have to make sure that we are all drawing that moral clarity and making that line known, whether it's students, your coworkers, or your family members.
All right, let's talk about the border. The lack of a solution there is impacting, of course, thousands of lives of migrants, but also desperately needed funding for Israel and Ukraine. It's impacting state politics. States like Massachusetts are rapidly running out of money. Also national politics with the presidential year coming up next year. We're going to get to all these topics, but let's start with talks between Democrats and Republicans. They seem to die or at least stall in the Senate this week. Where do they stand, and can you find a compromise on the border?
Democrats have been there, and President Biden has been from the very first days of his administration saying, let's tackle immigration in this country. There isn't a person you can find who says that system is working well. It is a broken system, and we have to do better. But what we've seen in the House is that as we reach out to say, let's find bipartisan compromise, let's find a way forward, we all agree it isn't working for states like Massachusetts, states like Texas and Florida. So how do we come together, get the immigration that we need, the workforce that we need?
How do you do that? How do you do that?
Well, let's talk about the proposals that we've put forward. On the first day of his administration, President Biden put forward a plan that has been rejected. He also put forward a Dreamers Act that has been rejected by the Republicans. Let's go back to the Farm Workers Modernization Act, which was really a bill that compromised around how we can begin to heal this system and bring it together so that it works for both, our economy, our national security, and for migrants. That also was rejected. So what I'm seeing in the House is a MAGA majority that is not interested in solutions, but is interested in politicizing this critical issue that we need to be coming together and moving us forward, not using it as a political
So it has to be done in
football.
the Senate, you think? If there's a solution, it has to come from the Senate side of the Capitol?
At this particular point, that is where we are going to have the most immediate decisions made. But that in no way lets the GOP in the House off the hook. They have to come forward and meet us to move our country forward, our national security, interrupt the flow of fentanyl, and get the funding to communities here in Massachusetts that we need to address this migrant crisis.
And funding for Israel and Ukraine, that is desperately needed. Republicans are not passing this. They're not doing it without addressing the border. Can that get done before this whole thing ends for the holiday recess?
It is disgraceful that we are not moving forward on those key pieces. Let's look at Ukraine. We have in the House of Representatives a pro-Putin caucus that is currently winning the day. There is a majority in the GOP who says we'll stand for Ukraine. The question is, will they stand up to the extremists who frankly are willing to pull back and allow Putin to do what he wants in Ukraine? And why is it so critical? Because it's so critical, not just to Ukraine and the Ukrainian people, but because Putin is on the border of NATO, and that will involve our national security and our troops if we allow him to cross.
So quickly, do you think it will get done?
We're going to do everything we can. It is in the GOP's hands.
All right, I want to ask you about money here at home. Massachusetts just allocated, as you know, another $250 million. After already spending tens of millions of dollars on emergency shelters for migrant families, there's now over 7,500 families here in the state. A temporary shelter in the Transportation Building in Boston was closed last week. The families moved to a former college campus in Quincy. Is Congress doing enough to help states like ours deal with this influx of migrants? And shouldn't Washington be picking up the tab?
Washington needs to do more, and the House GOP has to come and support the president. In that supplement that we've been talking about, that security supplement, is money for states like Massachusetts to help us shelter these migrants when they come here. I'm very grateful the administration has started to offer work clinics so that these migrants can get their work authority and begin to make their money. But we have received $2 million in federal funding. We are spending $45 million a month.
Yeah.
And that's why the Mass delegation recently led a letter saying we appreciate the administration and the money they asked for. We need to do even more.